And the idea originally, which Mr. Soros referred to, was to buy these troubled assets, toxic assets, if you will, and take them out of the balance sheet of the banks, while Mr. Soros advocated that it has to be turned into something else, which means a recapitalization of the bank, and by definition that would bring to the level of a better solvency.
Now, to say something to the non-economists,
As a professor,
no, thank you very much. No,
my students are here, so you know.
But I want to point out, you see, that this theory of reflexivity has very profound, far-reaching implications outside economics, for instance, for politics, and has forced me to reconsider the idea of open society. Because, you know, I'm not exempt from the human condition, and so I can also make mistakes, and so can Popper. And the idea of open society actually was based on the false assumption that the purpose of discourse, of free discussion, is to get closer to the truth. That was the unspoken, or in fact pretty well spoken assumption. That's why you need freedom of speech, that's why you need elections, etc. That was the sort of epistemological justification for the democracy. And the flaw is that discourse is not necessarily directed at getting closer to reality. That's the cognitive function. But there's also the manipulative function. And there's no reason to believe that the cognitive function always takes precedence over the manipulative function. And now, this idea actually became prominent. I call it the Enlightenment fallacy. That, you know, reality is there to be discovered, and reason is like a searchlight that will light up reality, and we gain knowledge. It's true when it comes to natural science, but not true when it comes to human affairs. Reality can be manipulated, and it actually fell to Karl Rove to make that discovery, or to put it to good use. And he's famously quoted, although it's not attributed to him, that, you know, we, the Bush administration, we don't go by this old idea of trying to get understanding of reality. We create reality. The trouble is that when you create reality, because you manipulate, the reality you create is not the reality you expected. And that is proven also by the record of the Bush administration. So, after all, it is important to give the cognitive function precedence, but you can't take it for granted. You have to make that a goal, a social goal. So there is, after all, a need for an open society where people, the electorate, actually cares about the truth. But unless they do, democracy will not function and can easily be misled, as we have recently experienced. So there is a parallel to the financial crisis, which has shown up the fallacy of the prevailing view in economics. There's a parallel to that effectively in the war on terror and the way it was used to invade Iraq. That would be another lecture. But I want to mention it because there are people at the CEU studying politics, and I would like to draw their attention that this is the issue to study.
Okay, unfortunately, Karl Rove is not here to defend himself. We have Julius Horvath, the head of the economics department, to defend market fundamentalism. No, I'm joking.
I would like to ask Mr. Soros about the possible impacts on the real economy. If you can elaborate, you wrote this paper in Financial Times, so risky for emerging markets. So why would be emerging markets, affected by this crisis so much? Can you elaborate on this? Thank you.
Well, you had about, interestingly, the collapse of the housing bubble actually brought the boom in commodities, and particularly the oil, to the bubble stage. So you had the speculative bubble superimposed on that pretty long, and in fact a very fundamental supply situation in oil. And oil went in short order from $70 to $140. And it's now back to 70. So the bubble has burst. It was a very short, quick bubble. And it's similar, you see similar charts for copper and so on. So the bubble in oil has burst. The result is that a lot of the investments that were in progress to develop alternative energy and to develop, of course, oil as well, are now in suspension. So that actually more or less guarantees that you have another bubble when the economy recovers. Because instead of using this opportunity to push forward with the development of alternative energy, there's a great danger that those efforts will now come to a stop. And one of the things that I'm advocating, and I hope that we'll see some action with the new administration, that the motor of the world economy was overconsumption by the United States. That has disappeared. It cannot come back. Therefore, you need a new motor to put the idle resources to work, to create demand. And I think that the development of alternative energy could be that motor. That's where government comes in. I think that is where the recovery from the financial crisis could come from, and also solve a increasingly pressing problem, global warming, as well as the political problem of energy dependence and Russia's increasing power and so on. So that would be a very beneficial way to respond to the crisis.
Thank you very much.